Thank you to my audience for joining me here today. We're joined by my grandma Jerry, my mom Nicole, my brother Aaron, and my boyfriend Dan, who has graciously agreed to record this speech for me today. Thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. So the month is September and the year is 1996. And you may not know it yet, but countless timeless releases are about to make their way into your hearts and your homes. For my parents, that timeless release was me. I was born on September 12th of 1996. But for those of you in my class who don't know me, you might be more interested in the other things that were happening around this time. For example, fans of Michael J. Fox or political satire can rejoice because his sitcom Spin City was released this month and it ran until April of 2002. Everybody Loves Raymond also came out around this time. It ran until May of 2009. I can remember this show coming on at my grandparents' house, and I was never too interested in watching it because I thought of it as old people TV. I was more interested in the cartoons around that time. But interestingly enough, Sabrina the Teenage Witch also came out during this month, and I have seen every single episode of this show. I really loved this show growing up, so I was surprised to find out that it actually came out the same month that I was born, and it ran until April of 2003. These were not the most iconic releases of the time, if you can believe it, because Dragon Ball Z also came out during this month, and even though it only ran until 1998, it had fantastic reviews, and it was actually very surprising when the show ended. You also have Judge Judy, which on the flip side of the coin, this show lasted up until July of 2021. So you have one show that ended after 2 years and one show that ended just last year. And then Blue's Clues was also released during this year. It only ran until August of 2006, but it was actually revived as Blue's Clues and You in November of 2019 and is still running to the present day for our nostalgia and for your children's enjoyment. There were some new releases coming out still on old consoles during the time. The Game Boy had just released Donkey Kong Land 2. You had Kirby Superstar, which was just released for the Super Nintendo. And if you can believe it, they were still releasing games for Sega as well. They released Sonic CD during this month. Probably the most iconic release of this time, however, was the Nintendo 64, which came out in 1996. With this console came games Pilot Wing and Super Mario 64. I can especially remember playing Super Mario 64 growing up. My brother and I actually have two Nintendo 64 consoles that we share, and we played a lot of the games growing up, but I can remember my dad playing Super Mario 64, and I was always really afraid of the boss fights when he was facing Bowser, so I would hide behind him on the couch while he was playing. I would also brush his mustache so that he would look a little bit more like Mario. I'm sure that both of those things really annoyed him, but he still let me do it, and for that I'm very grateful. There were some notable births during this time. Lily Reinhart, who you might know for her role as Betty Cooper from the CW drama series Riverdale, she was born in this month, as well as Zendaya Coleman, who I know from her role as Rocky on the Disney Channel sitcom Shake It Up, but you're more likely to know her from her more pivotal roles as Rue Bennett in Euphoria. And she also plays MJ in the revived Spider-Man movies for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There were also a lot of notable deaths that happened around this time. There was Douglas Franklin Wright. He was a known serial killer, known to have killed at least 7 people, but believed to have killed more than that. He was put to death on September 6th of 1996 by lethal injection, and he was actually the first person to be put to death by lethal injection in the state of Oregon. On the same day in Michigan, Barney McCoskey, a former Detroit Tigers outfielder, passed away at the age of 79. He was buried in a cemetery in Southfield, Michigan. Probably the most notable death from this time, however, was Tupac Shakur. He was a best-selling music artist and an activist. He was shot to death at the age of 25 in a drive-by shooting. Unfortunately, he died on September 13th of 1996. He was known to be one of the most influential rappers of all time. He used his platform to speak out about a lot of political issues that were happening at the time. So his death was very untimely and unfortunate, especially for those who were invested in the music scene around that time. So you're driving home from work and you just had a long day working for $4.25 an hour at the federal rate for minimum wage, and you just want to relax and turn on some music. And according to the Billboard Top 100 of the time, the 5 songs you would be most likely to hear are Change the World by Eric Clapton, Loungin' by LL Cool J, Twisted by Keith Sweet. You could probably hear I Always Love You Forever by Donna Lewis playing on the radio, but the song that you were the most likely to hear, according to the Billboard Top 100 of September 14th, 1996, was the Macarena by Los Del Rio. This was the top song during that week. So be careful not to get in an accident driving home from work because you're dancing along to the song and enjoying it just a little bit too much. Some other music that was fresh on the scene around this time, we get a word from the original Rumshakers, Blackstreet. They released their album Another Level. This had their song No Diggity, a very iconic song in rap, and I'm sure that all of us still know and enjoy this song to this day. Soundgarden also released their single Burden in My Hand. This is one of their most popular songs, and it's included on their top songs playlist throughout the years. And Weezer released their album Pinkerton around this time as well. So I think it's safe to say that September of 1996 was timeless, iconic, and pivotal in the world of pop culture. You had the release of things like the Nintendo 64, and with it iconic games like Mario 64, and you also had the untimely death of iconic artists such as Tupac Shakur. Thank you all for joining me here for my speech today. I really appreciate it.